16-year-old Pippa is fascinated by a mysterious murder. 5 years earlier, Pippa met Andy, the beautiful victim of the same murder. At that time, Pippa unwittingly helped Andy's boyfriend find her by giving her directions. But that very night, the beautiful Andy disappeared. Strangely, 5 days later, Andy's boyfriend's body was found in the woods. Rumor has it that he confessed to killing Andy and then did something stupid because he felt guilty. So Pippa secretly decides to make the murder the subject of her summer research project. But Pippa's classmate Kara reminds her that the case is closed. Everyone believes Andy's boyfriend was the killer, but he was never tried. Even now, Andy's body has never been found. Pippa believes that Andy's boyfriend, Sal, was a good person, kind, moral, and academically gifted. He had always been so kind to her, and she couldn't imagine someone like him being a killer. If Sal didn't do it, who did? Back home, Pippa set up a wall full of clues to begin her investigation. Pippa's first goal was to discover the real reason behind Andy's disappearance. According to records, Andy left home at 10:30 that night. Security cameras showed her driving through a small square at 10:38 p.m. However, at 12:45 a.m., when she was supposed to be home, her parents realized she hadn't returned for dinner with the family. 5 days later, a green van was found abandoned on the side of the road. Inside was Sal's body. Before he died, he confessed to killing his girlfriend. The last person to see him alive was his younger brother, Ravi. Andy's parents couldn't even hold a funeral because her body was never found. These unanswered questions only fueled Pippa's curiosity about the case. The next day, she began her investigation at a bus stop. After what seemed like an eternity, Pippa finally spotted Ravi. She followed him quietly but was quickly discovered. However, no one could resist chatting with a cute girl like Pippa. They naturally started talking. Pippa offered Ravi some of her homemade blueberry pie. When Ravi tried it, Pippa shyly explained that she had come to ask a few questions about Andy and Sal for her university extension project. But as soon as Ravi heard this, he became angry and returned the pie. He said coldly and clearly that he didn't want to reopen old wounds. Pippa was in a big bind from the start, but she refused to give up. She decided to go to the crime scene to look for new clues. In the woods, she noticed black ribbons tied tightly around the trees. The deeper she went, the more there were, until she stumbled upon a small wooden house. Inside, the bedding was dirty and unusable. On the wall, she discovered the names of countless people who had lived there carved. Just then, she spotted a girl outside who looked a lot like Andy. Pippa immediately dropped her dog and ran after Andy. Pippa called Andy's name, but the girl never stopped. When Pippa reached the tree covered in black ribbons, she realized she had the wrong person. It was not Andy who had been missing for 5 years. From that moment, Pippa became more and more obsessed with solving this mystery. Pippa then discovered that Kara's sister Naomi was not only Andy's best friend, but also Sal's. While Pippa was getting water, she took the opportunity to strike up a conversation with Naomi in the kitchen. Pippa then casually mentioned her research and asked if Naomi would agree to be interviewed. To Pippa's surprise, Naomi said yes. It turned out that the group had attended Max's party that night. Sal had said he wasn't feeling well and left around 10:30 p.m. However, Sal didn't get home until 12:50 p.m. Strangely, he still had an alibi for that time. Just then, Kara's father, Elliot, came home from work and interrupted the interview. Pippa had no choice but to leave quickly. She almost forgot her notebook full of interview notes. Clearly, the party held important clues and Pippa knew she had to act quickly. That night, Pippa checked Naomi's social media and added Max to the list of suspects. Pippa pinned their photos to the investigation wall, but the biggest question remained. Where did Sal go during those 2 hours of disappearance? Soon after, Pippa texted Max and agreed to her mother's suggestion of taking a part-time job. The next day, Pippa and Kara worked as waitresses at a wedding. Since the town was small, it was no surprise that Pippa ran into Max there. She then followed him down to the basement and found him hiding there. During the interview, he made things difficult for her. Max forced Pippa to drink a glass of wine for every question she asked. After 3 glasses, she finally got a surprising answer. Apparently, Sal had begged Max to give him an alibi and claimed that they were together until 12:15. But Max told the police the truth. He knew that tampering with evidence was a crime. Max, however, believed that Sal could not be the killer, but the truth remained that Sal had confessed. Max then went into the woods and did something stupid. As the wedding continued, Pippa got drunk. At that moment, a strange man approached her and warned her to stay away from things that did not concern her. After her shift, Pippa went home with conflicted feelings. However, Pippa somehow found herself standing on Ravi's doorstep. Although Max's visit was unannounced, Ravi's mother warmly welcomed her into the house. When Pippa met Ravi, she opened up about what she really felt. For her, this was more than just a research project for a certificate. It was to prove Pippa's deep belief that Sal was innocent. Pippa's sincerity won Ravi's trust. He took her to see Sal's old room. Ravi gave Pippa a phone. Inside was one last coherent message. The rest looked like it was written in reverse, almost as if it was in French. Ravi Ravi quickly explained that although Sal was very smart, he was terrible at texting. Sal was practically illiterate. Hearing this, Pippa suddenly realized that Sal had never actually admitted that the last message wasn't from him. So who sent it? Finally, the case had a new clue. Pippa stared at the photo on her phone. Pippa wondered how they were such a perfect couple, but how did it end so tragically? As Pippa looked at her wall of clues, something clicked in her mind. At this point, everyone in town was a potential suspect, so the investigation began to move quickly. Soon the focus shifts to Andy's two best friends. The great detective Pippa is back in action. Pippa goes to the restaurant where Emma, one of Andy's best friends, works part-time. Through their conversation, Pippa learns that the three of them have been inseparable since elementary school. They share every secret, no matter how small. Andy is warm, outgoing, and kind. Her boyfriend Sal is both romantic and classic. They never argue, and surprisingly, they have never gone too far in their relationship. Pippa is surprised to hear this. Sal's phone still has the entire history of their relationship. It is clear that the couple had argued. When Pippa mentions this, Emma becomes angry and insists that everything she said is true, not a lie. The interview ends on a sour note. Emma warns Pippa never to contact her again. Later, Pippa meets Ravi by the lake. He was determined to uncover the truth behind his brother's death. He agreed to work with her. From that moment on, Pippa had a partner who was both strong and trustworthy. When Pippa mentioned investigating Andy's other best friend, Nat, Ravi accidentally mentioned Nat's nickname, Naked Nat. It turned out that Nat had had her private photos leaked. Max, though no one knew how. Then Pippa got an important clue. Andy's father did not approve of her relationship with Sal. He refused to accept a blonde angel dating a black man. Max, though such racist views were no longer legal, but those outdated beliefs were still ingrained in the minds of many of the townspeople. One day when Pippa visited Kara's house, she finally found a way to approach Nat. Coincidentally, Kara and Nat were both at the same tennis club and had an upcoming match. While they were talking about the leaked photos, Kara's dad suddenly barged in and asked what they were talking about. The match day was soon approaching. Of course, Pippa had come to cheer her friend on. After the match, Pippa followed Nat into the locker room. What Pippa learned there shocked her. Apparently, Andy was cheating with someone else, although she and Sal had never gone that far. Nat realized she had said too much, so she stood up and warned Pippa to be careful. Nat then took her bag and left. Pippa's curiosity deepened. What made things even stranger was that Pippa saw Nat getting into an SUV driven by the same man who had touched her nose and warned her at a party. What exactly was their relationship? Pippa quickly shared what she saw with Ravi. Together they try to piece together the mystery behind it. Luckily, Ravi comes up with a plan. He uses his phone to impersonate Nat and text Emma. To his surprise, he finds out information about a mysterious man. But who is this man? If Andy had two boyfriends, then this mysterious man is now the prime suspect. The case is getting more and more complicated. But since Pippa has agreed to go camping with Kara, she and Ravi have to say goodbye for now. The group excitedly goes camping in the woods and has a fun afternoon together. That night, the five of them play Ouija, a spirit game. They try to summon Andy, the girl who disappeared 5 years ago. As soon as they speak, the pen suddenly moves. It shows that Andy is not in the woods. But on the second question, the atmosphere changes. The pen points to yes. Then came the third question. Andy, are you hiding here? And the atmosphere became tense. Around midnight, the three girls got up to go to the bathroom. On their way back, they noticed flickering lights deep in the woods. Why were there lights there? Had they really summoned Andy's spirit? Pippa ran towards the light and chased it through the pitch-black woods. Pippa didn't know how long she ran until she tripped over a branch. When she looked up, the figure was gone. After returning to the campsite, the group assumed that the strange light they saw was just someone lost in the woods. However, to be safe, the boys volunteered to take turns keeping watch. When Pippa lay down, she found a mysterious note hidden under her pillow. She nervously opened it. Inside was a warning telling her to stop investigating. Could it be related to the shadow she saw earlier? Pippa couldn't sleep. After a terrifying evening, the group quickly packed up the next morning and drove home. While Pippa was dropping her friends off, she overheard Max arguing with Emma. It was then that Pippa realized that Andy and her two best friends might be hiding a secret that no one else could know. Back home, Pippa reread the paper and listened to her previous interview recordings. A bad feeling began to creep in. She looked at her wall of suspects. The first was Naomi, who was close to both Andy and Sal. The second was Max, whose interview completely contradicted Naomi's. The third suspect was Andy's father. Not only did he disapprove of his daughter's boyfriend because he was mixed race, but Pippa had caught him sneaking around suspiciously at party as if he was hiding an affair. The fourth person was the mysterious man who had touched Pippa's nose to warn her. And the fifth person was the unknown man Ravi had told Emma about. Then Pippa added another name, Nat. Since Nat's previous warning matched the note's message word for word, she became a suspect. At that moment, Pippa noticed something in a police photo from the old case. The police officer standing at the scene was the man who had warned her earlier. She immediately logged onto the local police website and her suspicions were confirmed. Pippa called Ravi to her house. They confirmed that the man was indeed the police officer who had worked Sal's case all those years ago. Ravi looked at the clue wall and rearranged the photos chronologically. That's when they noticed something strange. 2 months before Andy disappeared, Nat suddenly disappeared from all the group photos. Pippa immediately suspected that Andy might have leaked Nat's private photos. This gave Nat a strong motive for murder. They decided to use the same trick again. They pretended to be Emma to lure Nat out. Surprisingly, Nat took the bait and showed up. This time, they discovered an important clue. It turned out that the day before Andy disappeared, she had a mental breakdown and started acting recklessly. Andy had been hanging out with the person everyone hated, Max. He was a jerk. Could Max be the mystery man? But just a few days ago, he claimed that he didn't even know Andy. After Pippa said goodbye to Ravi, she decided to take matters into her own hands. Pippa went straight to Max's house and knocked on the door. Pippa pretended to be Max's friend. She tricked his parents into letting her upstairs, but when she entered his room, she realized he wasn't there. Taking advantage of the opportunity, Pippa searched the room, hoping to find some clues before anyone noticed, but nothing useful. Then a photo on the nightstand caught her eye. It was Andy in a bikini. Just as Pippa pulled out her phone, Max appeared and asked what she was doing. Pippa asked Max about his relationship with Andy. Max laughed and said that no matter how bad he was, he would never touch his best friend's girlfriend. He added that he just found the photo lying around in class and kept it because he was bored. Nothing more, nothing less. But Pippa didn't believe her. Pippa showed Max the chat log between Sal and Andy. She pressed him for an answer. Max, cornered by the overwhelming evidence, finally confessed that Andy had been selling drugs. She asked how he knew. He said because he was one of Andy's customers. It turns out Andy has been dealing small amounts of drugs to criminal groups, mostly at an underground party called Calamity. Sal is absolutely disgusting when Andy gets into that world. Pippa has no choice but to attend a Calamity party to find out who the real drug dealer is and try her luck. Calamity is chaotic and dangerous. Pippa secretly looks at a rapper's phone and memorizes the secret code from a Calamity party invitation. With a little help from her teacher, she discovers that only insiders with an invitation know where the party is held. That night, the three girls muster up the courage and enter the dark woods. Following the map on their phone, they come to a glowing cave. Next to it is a tree covered in ribbons of lights. They walked in, and the music got louder as they went deeper. The place seemed to be built for people to lose control and unleash their wildest sides. The social game was equally wild. Spin the bottle, and whoever it pointed to would go into a private room together. The girls felt like they had entered a completely different world. A dirty junkie stared at them and made an offer. Pippa and Kara boldly joined the game, and by chance, the bottle pointed at Pippa as she expected. Andy feigned experience and teased that without a little danger, there was no thrill. With just a few clever words, Pippa had gotten hints about the real dealer. Then she was taken to another tent where she had to face it alone. Inside, she faced the dealer. She pretended that the junkie was her boyfriend. She sat across from him. She had made a deal. If he answered 3 questions, she would pay off her boyfriend's debt. He agreed immediately, and then the truth from 5 years ago began to emerge. It turned out that Andy had been in charge of selling 3 main drugs. Andy hid them inside stuffed animals because no one suspected a blonde like her. The line had been kept safe because of that. But Pippa's last question crossed the line. Pippa asked where he was the night Andy disappeared. He said Pippa thought he was selling drugs and also killing teenage girls. Pippa said she didn't think so. He said, but what if he did? He gave her a sinister smile. Pippa ran out of the tent in panic. Was Andy really dead at his hands? The suffocating atmosphere of the cave surrounded Pippa. Her heart was pounding. She ran out in a panic. After a long night of thinking, Pippa concluded that the mysterious man was the drug dealer. The next step was for Pippa to locate the disposable phone that Andy used to contact customers. With a clear plan, Pippa contacted Ravi. They kept watch near Andy's house because the drugs were hidden in a stuffed animal and the phone might contain Andy's customer list. Both were likely still in Andy's room. Pippa planned to sneak in while the family was away. Just as they were planning, Andy's sister drove away. Ravi stayed behind to guard while Pippa sneaked out the back of the house. Luckily, she found a room key hidden under a flower pot and quietly entered the house and went upstairs. Pippa hoped that Andy would return someday. Her bedroom had not been touched since she disappeared. Pippa quickly took a picture with her phone but found nothing hidden inside the stuffed animal. She then looked under the bed just as Ravi called to warn her that Andy's sister had come home early. Unfortunately, Pippa's phone was on silent mode, so she missed the call. Ravi knew that a black man could easily be mistaken for a criminal, so he risked his life to sneak in to find her. Seeing Ravi there only made Pippa more nervous. They frantically cleaned up their tracks, but footsteps were coming closer from the stairs. With nowhere else to hide, they crammed into the closet. Unfortunately, Andy's sister noticed that something had fallen on the floor. The tension was high. It was obvious that she suspected someone was in the room. Just when they were about to be discovered, the doorbell rang and saved them at the last minute. As they reached the stairs, they realized that the neighbors had called the police after noticing the intruder. The police who came to check were the same men who had warned Pippa earlier. Obviously, they couldn't stay. They then rushed out of the house. Ignoring the noise, they jumped into their car and drove away. When they calmed down, they discovered the drugs hidden inside the stuffed animal, but still no sign of the disposable phone. However, deep inside the animal, they found a coded sheet of paper listing the buyers and the amount sold. One of the names was most likely Andy's killer. The case remained unsolved, but Pippa and Ravi's relationship grew stronger. They then went on a date. In the following days, Pippa became obsessed with deciphering the mysterious symbols. She then realized that the sheet belonged to a small family hotel. Pippa immediately called Ravi, and together they drove to another town to investigate. What they found there shocked them. The hotel staff knew nothing about the disappearance 5 years ago, but the staff said the girl in the photo had stayed there just a few weeks ago. Was Andy still alive? When Pippa asked to see the guest book, he refused. Unwilling to give up, Pippa came up with a plan. A few minutes later, the hotel fire alarm suddenly went off, forcing everyone to evacuate. In the chaos, Pippa and Ravi forced their way into the office and found the guest review book. To avoid being caught, they hid in an unlocked hotel room. Not long after, Pippa made a big discovery in the bathroom. Comparing the photo of Andy in a bikini with the surrounding scenery, Pippa realized that the photo had been taken at this very hotel. She was there. They took advantage of the chaos to escape before anyone noticed. Back home, Pippa looked at the photos in the notebook and noticed a review written in the same handwriting as the coded paper. She immediately called the number listed there, but the line was dead. Pippa saved it to her phone under the name of the mystery man, her prime suspect. Just when everything seemed to be going well, the next day everything went to hell. The police arrived, escorted Pippa to his car, and warned her to stop the investigation immediately. He then showed her footage of Sal's interrogation. It turned out Sal's alibi was too good to be true, because his 3 best friends couldn't possibly lie. The day before the incident, Sal and Andy had argued. This was confirmed by text messages on his phone. During the interrogation, Sal lost control and attacked Andy's father. Based on all the evidence and Sal's actions, the detective concluded that he was guilty. Hearing this, Pippa suddenly realized that her stubbornly held beliefs might be wrong. Soon, Pippa had no choice but to tell Ravi that while she didn't want to believe that his brother was guilty, she couldn't deny the evidence she saw. On the day of the murder, Pippa saw Andy and Sal arguing. The case that brought Pippa and Ravi together was now tearing them apart. Afterward, Pippa couldn't shake the guilt. Pippa went to Kara for comfort, but a passing remark from Naomi gave Pippa a clue that could change everything. On Naomi's laptop was a photo of the 3 friends taken that night, timestamp 12:06 a.m. As soon as Pippa saw it, she realized that the person who took it must be Sal. Realizing what this meant, Pippa rushed to the town hall where Andy's 5th anniversary memorial service was being held. Everyone was there, and Andy's sister Becca thanked them for coming. Pippa spotted Naomi in the crowd and went straight to her. Pippa asked why Naomi lied. Naomi said they had to lie, because otherwise people would find out what they had done. Naomi was racked with guilt and finally confessed the truth about what had happened 5 years ago. It was a New Year's Eve party. Naomi and her 2 friends were there. They were having a great time until something terrible happened on the way home. They were drunk and careless, so they drove fast and crashed head-on into another car. The collision sobered Naomi up immediately, but it was too late. The other car had flipped over. The victim was still alive and could have been saved, but Max, the driver, ordered them all to leave the scene. He made a quick phone call to someone and then fled. When the news aired, they learned that the man in the car had been seriously injured and taken to hospital, but the driver was never mentioned. The story was quickly forgotten. A few months later, Andy disappeared. Max had threatened them to file a false police report or he would reveal the hit and run. That's why Naomi claimed that Sal had left the party early and they had deleted any photos that could prove otherwise. At that moment, Max himself walked in, but Naomi, unable to bear it any longer, told Pippa everything. Naomi admits that because of Max's cowardice, they all lied to the police and indirectly sentenced their friend to death. Now Pippa has the evidence. The 12:06 timestamp of the photo is Sal's alibi. Max is angry and scares Pippa, but Naomi seems calm and relieved as if confessing has freed her. Naomi is ready to face the consequences. Pippa realizes that exposing the truth will land Naomi in jail. Pippa doesn't want to destroy Naomi's family, so she's determined to find another way to clear Sal's name. Back home, Pippa writes all the evidence on her wall. Pippa is now sure that Sal is innocent, but the case is related to that old car accident, and whoever threatened Sal's friends is the real key to solving it all. Suddenly, something strange happens in the middle of the night. Pippa's dog keeps barking at the front door. At the same time, she receives a text message message from an unknown number. A warning message told her to stop investigating. Before she could process it, another message popped up. Good dog. Pippa was stunned that someone was outside watching her. She turned on the lights and went outside with a flashlight, but the darkness was silent except for the echoing barking of the dog. Pippa realized that the enemy was at her door, so she decided to strike first. She recorded a video announcing that she was going to expose the whole case and posted it on social media that night. Not long after, there was a knock on the door. It was Ravi. After watching her video, he rushed over. He was afraid that something had happened to her. Understanding her plan, he decided to stay and guard the whole night. The two spent the night talking and playing cards. They grew closer. By morning, they were afraid their parents might recognize them, so they reluctantly said goodbye. It was Pippa's brother's birthday, but she received another threat, this time aimed at her family. Thinking it was her brother, she panicked. She discovered her beloved dog was missing. The family rushed into the woods to search, but on the way back, they found the dog's body. In the midst of her grief, something her father said to her brother suddenly woke her up. She realized that the only person with power to cover up the old hit and run and intimidate others into silence was the town sheriff. She immediately went to the police station to question him, but what she discovered there scared her. It turned out that 2 years before Andy disappeared, the police had been having an affair with her. Andy was only 16. Worse, Max had caught them together. That's why when Max caused the accident, the police agreed to cover it up. It was Max who blackmailed Andy's friends and lied. Pippa told Ravi everything, but this time he urged her to stop. He had lost his brother. He couldn't bear the thought of losing her too. After that, Pippa fell into despair. She lived like a ghost, until one day after a university exam, fate intervened. On the way home, Pippa accepted a ride from Elliot, Kara's father and English teacher. When his phone rang, she glanced at the screen and froze. It was the number saved as the mystery man and a number related to Andy's stay at the hotel. When Elliot answered, Pippa became even more scared. The voice on the other end of the line belonged to Kara's sister Naomi. Naomi explained that Max had broken her phone, so she had borrowed her father's old phone. Pippa's mind went blank. What the hell was going on with Kara's family? On the way home, Pippa kept glancing at Elliot. A plan was forming in her head. When they arrived, she deliberately dropped the phone under the chair to see what he would do. Elliot rushed out in a panic. Pippa's heart was pounding. Was her teacher really a killer? Pippa sneaked into Elliot's office and turned on his computer. She discovered that he had printed a document the same day she went on camp. It was the threatening note she had received. Now it was certain. Pippa tracked her phone and saw that Elliot's signal was coming from his old house, even though Kara had told Pippa it had been sold years ago. Without hesitation, Pippa texted Ravi from her computer. She told him to call the police. Pippa then picked up Kara and drove straight to Elliot's old house. When Pippa tried to get her phone back from Elliot's car, he caught her. She didn't hesitate to say that she believed Andy was being held captive in his house. Elliot feigned innocence and invited Pippa inside to see for herself. When Elliot continued to deny it, Pippa pulled out the threatening note he had written. Realizing that the game was up, he finally confessed. It turned out that after Andy's family troubles and her declining grades, she sought Elliot's help. At first, he was just tutoring her, but after his wife died, their relationship became romantic. After a few meetings, Andy told Elliot that she was in love with Sal and wanted to end things. Elliot reluctantly agreed. A few days before Andy disappeared, Elliot was summoned to a hotel. Elliot thought Andy had forgiven him. Instead, she asked for emotional damages. He refused. A few days later, Andy showed up at Elliot's house and threatened to expose their affair unless he paid her $5,000. During the confrontation, Andy fell and hit her head on the kitchen counter. Elliot panicked and called for help, but when he returned, she was gone. Pippa was in turmoil. Part of her didn't believe him. Part of her felt sorry for him, but suddenly she heard a faint metallic clang upstairs. Pippa's instincts kicked in. Elliot tried to get Pippa out, but Pippa sneaked away and followed the noise to the attic. When Pippa opened the cellar door, it wasn't Andy. In the attic, Pippa found a woman who had been imprisoned for years, a homeless stranger whom Elliot had taken in because she looked like Andy. The woman explained that she had come to Elliot 5 years ago to thank him. She had no idea that he would lock her up ever since. Elliot calmly confessed that he had killed Sal. The homeless woman pretended to be calm and said that she wanted a drink too. Just as Elliot turned away to get another drink, she tried to escape, but he caught her. Since that night, she was the only living witness to the 5 long years of imprisonment. But thanks to Pippa's call to the police, she was finally freed. The next morning, Elliot was arrested. Sal was finally exonerated, but Pippa was heartbroken. Her trusted mentor turned out to be a murderer. Looking at her wall of clues, she felt a bitter pride. She had solved the case despite all the suffering. The case was closed, but one thing remained: Pippa's failed romance with Ravi. She meets him by the lake. After they remember Sal, Pippa is speechless. Ravi says he's leaving town. He says he's spent his whole life in his brother's shadow and needs to start over, get a job, go to college, and live his own life. Maybe it was fate. The case brought them together, but now now, it's also driving them apart. Pippa thought she had it all figured out, but Andy's killer is still out there. Pippa's eyes light up as she goes through her old photos. Pippa knows there are still unanswered questions. Elliot killed Sal and sent warning letters to stop Pippa's investigation. Were all those threatening messages from him too? Following Ravi's method, Pippa rearranges the photos chronologically and checks Kara's social media. What Pippa finds leaves her speechless. It turns out that on Pippa's brother's birthday, the same day her dog was killed, Kara's entire family was away. Pippa feels like she's woken up from a dream. If it wasn't Elliot, then who did it? Pippa rushes to the police station. As Pippa talks to Elliot, she realizes that his story is still too inconsistent. By now, Elliot knows that everyone sees him as a monster. However, he still says he didn't kill Andy. He remembers that night, Andy said, "If you don't leave tonight, I'm afraid I'll do something terrible to you." Andy's father is known to be strict, controlling both daughters and forbidding them from dating. That's why Andy is so desperate to escape. On the night Andy disappeared, her father wasn't at a dinner party with friends, as he claimed. Elliot said that when he was searching for Andy in the woods, he saw her father driving a blue van, panicked and sweating. That's when a horrible thought flashed through his mind. If Andy died, people would think he did it. After he read Naomi's diary and learned about the old hit-and-run incident, a seed of evil was planted inside him. Killing Sal and framing him became the only way to protect his daughter. Pippa was stunned. The once respected teacher had turned into a monster, consumed by his own guilt. Pippa was determined to find out the truth. Pippa sneaked into Andy's father's junkyard. While he wasn't looking, she sneaked into the area of damaged vehicles and found the blue van the police were looking for. Opening the door, she froze. Inside were tools, all capable of killing someone. Hearing footsteps, Pippa ducked and hid inside, but someone found her. Luckily, it wasn't Andy's dad. It was Kara's friend Jesse. Jesse explained that he and his dad both worked there. They had been with Andy's dad that night. After confirming everything was okay, they went back to the party. Andy's dad even admitted that the van was his, but the police kept quiet because Sal had been declared the killer. Andy's dad's strictness wasn't without reason. Both his daughters had rebellious tendencies, especially Becca. Becca was even wilder than her sister. 5 years ago, Becca had secretly gone to the calamity party. There, she had drunk something laced with drugs. A few minutes later, she passed out. When she woke up, she didn't know where she was. She only knew she had been attacked. They were at a dead end again. Pippa stared at the wall of notes and photos of her. She was lost in thought. If TD stood for sedative, then why did Max buy it from Andy? Chilling premonition came to Pippa. She immediately turned on the recorder and called Max without hesitation. She asked him about his attack on Becca. Max admitted it and insisted that Becca did not resist. It was consensual. Pippa was shaking with anger. How could such a sick, perverted person still be at large? Then Pippa suddenly realized that person seen in the square at 10:38 p.m. was Becca. Pippa rushed to talk to Becca. Just like that, Becca knew what was about to happen, and there, the truth was finally revealed. That night, Andy was bleeding from the head after returning home from Elliot's house. Becca opened the door. She was hurt after being attacked by Max. Becca begged her sister to go with her to the police, but Andy refused, because Andy was the one who sold the recorder to Max. If they reported him, she would be exposed. Andy said that she would leave forever the next day. She could no longer bear their father's control. Becca panicked at the thought of being stuck alone with her father. In desperation, she argued with Andy. During the struggle, Becca accidentally pushed Andy, causing her head to hit the closet. Andy was injured from the previous fall at Elliot's house. This second blow killed Andy. Becca watched helplessly as her sister struggled to breathe. The killer all along was Andy's disturbed younger sister. Becca spiked the tea with the sedative Max used on her. Pippa, unaware of this, agreed to accompany Becca. Meanwhile, on a bus out of town, Ravi found cotton candy that Pippa had secretly stuffed in his bag. Ravi returned without hesitation. When Ravi arrived at Becca's house, he saw no sign of Pippa. He went to meet Kara. They used the phone's GPS and followed her signal into a nearby forest. By then, Pippa and Becca had entered a cave. Becca lifted the lid of a dry well and said that was where she dumped Andy's body. It was also the secret hideout they had shared, and now Becca planned to turn it into Pippa's grave. Pippa was dizzy from the drugs. Pippa resisted and pushed Becca away. She staggered towards the exit. Becca caught up and pulled Pippa down. Just as Ravi and Kara entered, Pippa passed out. In her dream, Pippa went back 5 years. When San asked her if she had seen Andy, she wished she had answered differently. She was gone, but perhaps fate had decided that no matter what she said, San would find Andy that night. Soon, Andy's father confiscated all the money she had saved from selling drugs. However, love won out. She and Sal planned to run away together. They planned to meet at the bus stop. Sal even brought Andy a warm cup of coffee, but time washed away everything. Memories, love, and pain as the small town slowly returned to peace. And so, Pippa solved the 5-year-old mystery. Her research project received high praise from Cambridge University, and her mother was proud. The movie ends here. Thank you for watching, goodbye, and see you again.